Thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet, voice you know with the news you trust studio, sponsored by BASF, where you can count on the trusted performance of Allevo's seed treatment to protect your soybean crop. Hope you had a great weekend. Lots of news to chase around over the weekend. Here's a new start for the week. Soybean farmers were among those on Sunday praising a trade framework announced by U.S. and Chinese leaders that could end China's freeze on buying U.S. agricultural products. Farmers in the middle of harvest finally saw some positive news on the trade front, with the Trump administration and Chinese officials saying they reached a framework that will address agricultural exports, among other major issues between the two countries. The U.S.-China framework was laid out on Sunday while Trump administration officials were holding talks in Malaysia. The administration also announced 4 smaller trade deals with Cambodia, Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam, all of which have provisions to open those markets to more U.S. food and agricultural products as well. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent made the rounds on Sunday news programs saying he thinks a trade framework has been negotiated to set up the two presidents' meeting on Thursday in South Korea. The news injects some optimism into commodity markets that have been suppressed in part because of a lack of export sales to China. The announcements could push prices back towards September highs, at the very least, said DTN lead market analyst Rhett Montgomery. From there, all eyes will be on the president's meetings on Thursday. Today's weather brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Here's the forecast.
Dry weather to start the week here over Ohio, but we've got some moisture at midweek. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Let's take a look at that Ohio Ag weather update. We are fully dry the rest of today, pleasant with temperatures above normal. Tomorrow, dry as well with clouds increasing late afternoon and evening. Wednesday looks cloudier now as moisture tries to lift up from the south and southwest and go through Thursday. Wednesday, Thursday combined, we probably end up with about 80 to 90% coverage with rains anywhere from 1/4 to 1 inch. We follow that up with drier weather, but cooler weather to finish the week. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, more clouds around those days as well. I'm Ryan Martin.
And thanks, Ryan. Well, Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller also last week proposed allowing targeted imports of Mexican cattle to stabilize supplies. Miller had issued a series of recommendations after USDA released its plan for cattle markets on Wednesday. Miller's proposal stated the quickest way to reduce beef prices and do it within 24 hours is to import feeder cattle instead of boxed beef. Normally, about 15% of our feeder cattle come from Mexico, but shipments have been backed up for almost a year, creating shortages. As we enter the Mexican feeder cattle season, November to February, we can safely reopen ports of entry in a controlled, incremental way without risking the spread of pests like screwworm fly. A measured, well-thought-out approach to live cattle imports will stabilize supplies while protecting U.S. biosecurity. Back with more after this.
When you're buying seed, there's more to a transaction than money. You're exchanging time and trust, hoping each decision adds up at harvest. Seed Consultants sales professionals don't take that lightly. With products made to excel in the Eastern Corn Belt and agronomic knowledge that stands up to the test, we're all about the same things you are: reliability and results. Buy into a better seed experience. Visit seedconsultants.com to view our corn and soybean lineup.
DTN's Shaylee Stewart said USDA didn't release its October 1 cattle on feed as originally scheduled on Friday due to the ongoing government shutdown. That doesn't have much effect on the market today, she said, but it will mean that the industry will be watching closely for the next month's report scheduled for November 21st. Oil futures reversed its early upward trend on Friday, October 24th, despite the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reporting tame inflation data for September that could prompt the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates. The BLS reported that the U.S. Consumer Price Index increased 0.3% in September after rising 0.4% in August, bringing the annual rate of inflation for all items indexed to 3%. While the annual inflation reading was higher than the 2.9% the prior month, it was lower than the market expectations for a year-on-year growth of 3.1% for the CPI. Today's market is brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. On the Chicago Board of Trade, December corn up 4 at 4.27 cents. March up 5.5 at 4.42.5. November beans, now that we've got a meeting scheduled with China, are up 23 cents at 10.64 January up 22 at 10.82 July wheat's up 13 3/4 at 5.63 September up 12 3/4 at 5.75 Now we're going the other way. October cattle down $4.55 at $229.20. December down $6.45 at $227.47. December lean hogs down 20 cents at $81.70. November, January, and March feeder cattle all down the $13.75 limit. This is the Ohio AgNet.